In this episode, we're exploring how spirituality helps with trauma recovery. Healing through spirituality is different for everyone, and we want to share how it has shaped our own paths. We'll talk about the moments that challenged us, the breakthroughs that changed us, and the lessons we've learned along the way. As you listen, we invite you to reflect on your own journey. What role has spirituality played in your healing? Have you ever had moments where you doubted your path? Grab your tea, settle in, and let's sip and reflect together.
For me, I would say spirituality was a foreign idea. The only thing I knew about it was religion, and I didn't connect the dots that religion is spirituality when I was in religion. So I rejected the idea of spirituality most of my life until I came to a crossword where I realized that there is only the divine universe and it is loving as long as you want to vibe high. So for me, there is no heaven and hell. There's just low vibrational and high vibrational. And the thing that separates you is whether you choose love over hate or hate over love. That is what my guides tell me. That we human want to make it complicated when it isn't. We are souls having a human experience so that we can help our souls elevate on our soul's journey. It's as simple as that. We get limited when we want to make it more complex than it is. Earth is a school for us to learn how to cope and transmute our emotions so that we can learn how to be unfuckwittable. That is why we are so triggered by so many things in our life so that we can learn how to remove the triggers, but we instead ignore or hold on to those low vibrational emotions and then suppress them instead of taking the time to examine why they are triggering us because we live in a fast paced world and some people think fast because of their zodiac signs are air and fire, but the earth and water signs cannot. They have to do things slowly because they were born under that sign. That means that half of us need to be doing things slower and the other half can keep the same pace because they are quick thinkers. But sometimes their quick thinking can get them in trouble so that they have to slow down to get out of trouble. That is why the divine universe is channeling messages through certain people to help us all evolve our soul one day at a time. Spirituality gave me a sense of purpose. Once I committed to my path, I fought long and hard to stay stuck in what I thought was my purpose. It had me stuck in denial of who I am as a soul. I found out that I am a high priestess, and that I can channel messages from any spirit, but I choose to keep it simple and only connect with my main five. Spirituality healing for me has been a lifelong struggle, which my guides tell me is the path I chose for my journey that my higher self wanted. I ultimately learned to trust the process and lean into faith.
That's powerful. I had a similar experience. Spirituality helped me find meaning in my struggles and gave me the strength to keep
Mhm.
going. But it wasn't always easy. Have you ever had moments where you doubted your spiritual journey?
All the time. All
Yeah.
the time. I still doubt it sometimes now.
You know what? Me too. Sometimes I just drive myself crazy,
Hmm.
when we really shouldn't. I think one thing we need to keep in mind is a healthy balance of still living our lives and working our spiritual journey, because sometimes we get too focused on the spiritual healing, we're not really living anymore. I think that me being isolated, just focus on my spiritual journey, it is depressing, but I think that's where balance comes in. It is
Hmm.
okay to still live your life and still be on your spiritual journey. So yeah.
That's true. Like
Yeah.
when I was going through the dark night of the soul, like I was stuck in my spiritual journey, and everything that I watched and listened to was all about. It was tarot card readings. It was about like Reiki. It was healing. I was doing everything in it, and I was so like not me, not who I was, and I thought that I was going to lose who I was at times and that I would always just be in the spiritual realm and always just reading, looking at tarot cards and doing all the spiritual stuff. And then one day it was like everything changed for me, and I was back to the old me, and I was listening to news and gossip and all the things that I had did before I started my spiritual journey. I don't watch it as much as I did before, and I don't allow it to affect my energy. So if something's like really bad, I'll cut it off, but I still, but to go back to what I used to like and watch was different for me, and it was needed so that I wouldn't be so invested into the spiritual journey, even though it is part of my life now. It is, but also I can live a normal life too, like you said.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let me see.
So, the spiritual healing process. Spiritual healing isn't about avoiding pain, it's about moving through it with intention and awareness. Let's talk about some key aspects of this journey: surrender and trust. Learning to let go and trust the universe. Shadow work. Facing the parts of yourself that need healing, releasing resentment for yourself and others. Inner guidance, connecting with your higher self, ancestors, or spiritual team. Rituals and practices, meditation, journaling, energy cleansing, and prayers.
Which of these has been the most transformative in your journey? Let's see if I can pick one. I think mine would be surrender and trust. Learning to let go and
Mm,
trust the universe. I'm learning to trust in the universe because I have a hard time discerning spirits. I'm like, oh, is that Jesus?
mm,
Is that a spirit? I have a hard
mm-hmm,
time doing that. And so what I'm doing now is I'm just learning to just pray and trust that God has got my back.
mm-hmm,
That's it. Dealing with all the spirits and whatever. I'm learning to vet them and distinguish between a good spirit and a bad spirit. Yeah, so inner guidance, connecting with your higher self. I mean, I did that. But again, that's where surrender and trust comes in. I have to trust just God, read my Bible, trust that God's got
mm-hmm,
everything under control. And that's
mm-hmm.
it.
I would say for me, all of them. I had to learn to let go of my job and trust in the universe. I needed to be in control. I'm surrendering and trusting as we speak. I have an issue that is going on, and I have to surrender and trust that it's bothering me because I want to do something, and that I have a problem allowing somebody else to take care of me, which is allowing the universe to take care of me, because I've been so in control of everything in my life because I felt like that nobody was there taking care of me how I wanted to be taken care of, you know. And so, and I realized that it's because I didn't want to be disappointed, because as a child, I felt like I was disappointed all the time and everybody. So, when I look back, I realized that my whole life was a bunch of disappointments.
Yeah.
like from parents to friends yeah, just a whole bunch of coworkers to a whole bunch of just disappointments, and
Mm-hmm.
realizing that disappointment is a part of life.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
my expectations are a little too high, and I can't expect everybody to not disappoint me just because my parents just disappointed me my whole life. I mean, not my
Mm-hmm.
whole life, but a lot. So I will say that, it's been a journey. It has been. And, the shadow work, and that's part of shadow work, looking at those parts, like face that, facing that I was an absent parent. I was emotionally absent to my parents. I mean, my bad. I'm not saying that right. That I was emotionally absent to my children because it was a learned behavior that I learned from my parents because they were emotionally absent to me. And I didn't want to be that type of parent to my kids because I tried to be attentive to them and to their emotions. But even with trying and going to get help for me so that I could be more emotionally available for my kids, I still found out that it wasn't good enough, and I should have done even more. And so that was a hard pill to swallow because like I prided myself in being a good parent and being there for my children and making sure that they had a better childhood than me and that I cared about their emotions and I showed them that I loved them and I told them that I loved them all the time, and and making sure that they were happier and were able to be kids and to live free and to be who they are and all those things, and then to go through my shadow work and realize that through all my best interests, I still failed. That really crushed me and hurt me and helped me realize why my kids were, when they became adults, were treating me the way that they were treating me. And it was because I wasn't emotionally there for them like they needed me to be there, because I was too busy worrying about providing for them more than being emotionally there for them. And not only that, like, how could I be there for them if I couldn't be there for myself because I was trying to figure it out
Right.
while going to counseling? You see, so learning all
Mm-hmm.
that too.
Right.
My
Mm-hmm.
and my mother, and I didn't have and learning that me and my mother didn't really have a loving relationship, and it was based off the need for each other. And I chose to have relationships with people who I felt like betrayed me because I wasn't being real to myself. So that's what I learned on my spiritual journey too, was that I chose these people to be in my life because I wasn't being real to myself. And because of that, they betrayed me. And then I felt like it was their fault for betraying me, but it also was my fault because I was betraying myself at first. And if I didn't betray myself at first, I would have never been friends with none of them because I would have saw them when they was coming,
Right.
or I would have stopped them. I would have stopped a lot of the behaviors and stuff that happened, or I would have called them out on it. And then, whatever else would have happened, instead of sweeping it under the rug and not paying attention to it because I'm trying to be a good friend, and allowing things to happen and unfold the way that they did. I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn forgiveness because I forgave everyone. And I forgave everyone that I thought treated me wrong. And I wrote it all out, and I wrote out what I felt they did to me and how angry I was at all of them and why I was angry at them. And that helped me a lot too, to release all that anger I had in me for feeling like I was this good person, that I had all their best interests, and that I had always been looking out for them. And then to find out that they really wasn't my friends, and they really didn't have my back, and they wasn't there for me, and that they were mad at me for being mad at them for not being there for me. And it was just a whole bunch of realizing that they wasn't the people I thought they was. And that felt like a that felt hurtful too,
Mm-hmm.
because while I was going around trying to be the best friend, coworker, mother, daughter, whatever, to everybody around me, I had to realize that they wasn't to me, and that hurt. That was like felt like a really bad big betrayal.
Right.
And then, oh yeah, I set up an altar for my ancestors and started to talk to them. And yeah, I remember it being weird. Like, I was like, do I just start talking to like nobody? Because you used to like having, be on the phone and talk to somebody, or somebody's in your house and you talking to them. You're not used to just talking by yourself in the house. You feel like you're crazy, like what am I doing, And so I had to get
Mm-hmm.
used to just talking to spirits and just, talking to my ancestors and my my grandma, just, waiting and waiting for them to respond to me through my environment, and so that was interesting. But first I prayed every day and I asked for help, and I told them how grateful I was to have them and to try to get a relationship with them before I started channeling them. So this is totally different,
Mm-hmm.
being able to channel them. I
Mm-hmm.
created rituals when I took spiritual baths and saged my house on a weekly basis. I started to practice healing modalities. I ended up with box meditation only through my nose every morning, yoga, and exercising for at least 5 days a week. So
Right.
I did everything.
Wow. I think I'm still going through my healing journey right now. Um.
After hearing mine, you're like, wait a minute, like, I
Yeah.
got a lot to
Right.
do.
You went through so much, and I'm like, wait a minute. I got. Okay.